All aboard! Next stop, Chicago Junction.
Welcome to Chicago Junction, the radio program that is about the amazing world of railroading, both the industry and model railroading. I'm your announcer, Brian Valu, and here is our boss, the head of the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, and the chief electrical engineer, Mr. John DeVita.
Well, thank you very much, Brian. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Chicago Junction from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich on Monday, February the 13th, the year 2017. Today, the panel will be talking about railroads and model railroads and, of course, much more. And now, to start today's broadcast, here's our announcer, Mr. Brian.
Thank you, John. Now, our chief dispatcher, who usually keeps the chaos in check, Mr. Ryan, is still out with some medical difficulties, but he is getting better. So, we'll be handling the program ourselves tonight. As I said, I'm Brian Valu, your announcer, and I am a rail fan, retired Navy, and also railroad locomotive engineer conductor. I play with large-scale trains. I play with O-gauge trains, and I play with the real trains. Volunteer at several museums, and all around know a little bit of everything and a lot of nothing, so I'm real dangerous. And to my right, I got Doug.
Howdy, this is Doug Kenyuk, rail fan, model railroader, N-scale, adjunct professor at Wilbur Wright College, and officer in the Railroad and Short Lines Club of Chicago.
I'm Ron Stock, retired librarian from Eisenhower Public Library, and railroad fan, HO model railroader, and just general train enthusiast.
Hi, I'm Kevin Barry. I'm a retired Chicago police sergeant, lifelong Lionel train enthusiast. I work with the Scouts, and I do counsel the Railroading Merit Badge. And I'm just dog nuts about trains.
Hi, this is Dave DeRuska. I'm a retired locomotive engineer. Last place I worked was Metra. I also maintain our Facebook page for Chicago Junction. I'm a rail historian as well and have a blog called whatever it is.
Player with trains?
Player with railroads. No, you're a player with trains, dog nuts.
Well, we seem to be in a jolly mood now, getting things off the ground. Ron, how about kicking us off with some tidbits?
All right. One of the things I noticed was in the latest train magazine, which I brought two of which that I'm going to use today, is Chicago Railroad's America's Railroad Capital, and then Trains magazine. And this particular article was in Trains. Basically, CTA now has an app in which they can commuters can choose routes, pay their fares, and earn innovative honors. It was awarded. It was the app was prepared by Ventor, and it's along with CTA and Cubic, and it's an Apple app and we'll provide more information on the webpage. There's been a couple of articles about Amtrak's Mormon, the new head of Amtrak. He consolidated. First of all, there was hope that he'd be on for 5 years. It sounds like he's going to be on for anywhere from 1 to 2 years, which I don't know how much he'll accomplish, but supposedly, I guess his 2 goals is to rearrange Amtrak and create 1 or 2 major goals, as well as finding a successor, long-term successor to him. He took Borman's 60-member manager group down to 6, which seems much, being a librarian and a director of a library, seems much more streamlined and uniform, and hopefully you can accomplish more things that way. His main core seems to be the East Coast Corridor, as well as improving some of the tunnels into New York City, and actually creating a couple of new tunnels and doing infrastructure out on the east. He still is in favor of the long-term routes out west, and but to date, we haven't heard anything from. We know Trump is interested in infrastructure, but we haven't heard anything what he's going to do for railroads. They had a little article about a new passenger service that is going in. It's called Brightline. And in addition to the same article, they also talked, which has been around for a couple of years now, and actually their trains are serviced out in Bensonville, is the Iowa Pacific line, which currently is running passenger service in Iowa, or excuse me, in Indiana. In a historical, although the article was in Train Magazine as a special edition, it's called Chicago, America's Capital, Railroad Capital. I was hoping it'd be a little more historical, but it had some history of Chicago, but it's primarily some of the improvements that need to be made in Chicago railroading. But the one thing of note, which I thought was interesting, in 1848, the first Chicago Railroad line was put in, and went from Chicago to Maywood. And it was the, let's see, GUC line, which is Galena, Chicago, and I believe Union. So those are a few of the things that I have, and I'll turn it over to whoever wants to go next.
Mr. Engineer, you want to call up our guest? Okay.
All right, well, I got a few short ones this time for a change.
Well, pretty good for a guy with short lines.
Yep, that's right. BNSF announced their 2017 capital improvement program, and they're going to be spending about $190 million improving their stuff in Illinois. Texas gets $225 million of their money, and they're talking about more welded track, upgrading the track, heavier rail. It's a big maintenance program, so they're going to be spending a couple of bucks. He was speaking about the Iowa Pacific in Indiana. They got kicked out, or they dropped out. Take your pick. Looks like Iowa Pacific holding companies in trouble. So as of March 1st, Amtrak's taking the service back over. That's all the details there is right now. Don't know what's going to happen to the Iowa Pacific equipment. Probably be parked behind the factories in Bensonville.
I'll get out my spray paint cans right now.
There you go. And finally, I said this the last time, looks like it's starting to happen. In Britain, they're looking to have robotic trains because of the freight load and the increase in passenger load. They already have one running in the dock. It's called Docklands. It's Docklands Light Railway. It's basically the L in some city on the west coast there, and so it's already running with robotics. And they're thinking about expanding that. They're also instituting a payment program where they'll scan your iris and your fingerprint and that's what you're going to use to buy your tickets. That's actually going to be your ticket, is your fingerprint to get on the trains. They're looking at it, putting all this in the next couple of years.
How many?
Well, they're looking at spending £342 million to start this up.
No, I know what you're talking about, the automation of that one commuter line you were talking about. That's been automated. It's been running for,
Quite some time now.
yeah,
Well, we got
I think about 10 years.
we have ones here. The People Mover at O'Hare's fully automated. The Linwood line in New Jersey partially automated. So it's nothing new. It's just that they're talking no humans involved.
I believe right now that we have a caller online. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, you do.
Could you give us your name, please?
It's Norm Kokel.
Okay, sir. And I believe you're with the Lake County Model Railroading Club?
Yes, I am.
And I believe you have been in the news lately.
Yes, we have. Surprisingly, how things have moved about.
Well, could you explain what's going on and what ideas you've been coming up with?
Oh, sure. Well, first of all, a little background. Our club has been in existence for 45 years now. It formed in 1972, and it has been in a town called Wakanda, Illinois, for the past 45 years. Same building, same basic layout design that was built in 1972 is still running today. Although it's been extensively upgraded as all the electronics in model railroading has changed so much, between the JMRI operational features and DCC and signal detection, we've made the investment in all that. So, and it is a permanent layout. It was built, the old L girder construction techniques, and back in '72, so it is not a portable layout. Occupies about 1,500 square feet. And over time, initially, we had no lease or no rental payments, but over time, things changed. And about 2 weeks ago, I received a email from our landlord telling us that we would have to vacate by March 31st of this year, and he would give us a couple months if we needed it. But he did admit, after further communication with him, that he had erred in the way he read his lease. In fact, he wasn't reading the current lease. And when I informed him of everything going forward, we agreed that we had locked down through March 31st of 2018, with a possibility for another year renewal after that at a mutual consent, which a week ago he said, based on everything, he wasn't going to renew. Now, we are in a basement in a building that's over 100 years old. So you know what those type of basements are like, I think. Anyone who's over 6 feet tall, we have to remind them to be careful when they visit so they don't hit their head on pipes. And the heat is nothing more than what heat gets generated off a standby boiler that's in the building, in the basement. But that gave us a little bit of a problem, again, because of where we are, the age of the membership, the level of membership. Trying to find a new place will be difficult. And as anyone would recognize, the cost of building new is a substantial investment. So we're struggling with that a little bit, trying to figure out. The members would ideally love to stay where they are, but a landlord has a right to get what income stream he wants off his buildings. And, if he can get more power to him. But like I said, the basement is a very old basement and very limited, single access, not ADA compatible, all stuff we're grandfathered in at. And, we're part of the community. We partake in a Christmas walk. We have 2 open houses a year. We're part of the community in relationships that when we need some supplies, it's a local hardware store. Members like to eat, so we're always going to the local. Since we're right in downtown Wakanda, there's several little restaurants around that we help out. And even on our open houses, when people ask where can we go, we recommend what's in town, right on our main street. So that's where we are. Our membership is torn. You got a 45-year project of love, down in that basement. It is, in my humble opinion, one of the best layouts in the Midwest around in HO scale. Because it's been there so long, so well scenic. We've had members who originally were founders of the club come down, look at it recently, and just marvel at the amount of detail we have installed on that layout.
Well, I imagine a lot of work has been done. Was everybody like forming a small committee to go out and search for a new place?
Yes, that's there. My concern, though, is with membership of only 17 members, a financial burden with, 3-4 of them fairly well into the retirement area that would not have the necessary funds to kick in. If we build new, it's going to require a few members who have the resources to do the additional contribution to get it done.
Yeah, so it's basically you're going to be starting out small.
On the layout size, we would like to see a little larger space. I mean, we are in less than a little under 1,500 square feet. And, the tendency of the hobby is to fill in every square foot you have. So
yes, that is the dream sometimes.
Yes, it is. We've done it fairly well. We've, slapped hands for those who wanted to go a little too far with crowding everything. But we have made very good use of all the space, by a couple yard areas being double-tiered, and those little tricks that you can do to help out. But when the layout is all set, it's the main line to operate it, to get back to where you would be starting from. It's about almost 400 feet of main line running. It's a single track layout with about 6 strategically placed passing sidings. So,
are there, now that you're starting, I take it you're just starting your preliminary search for something new.
Yes, we are.
And you do have at least a year, correct?
Yeah, ironically, how things changed. That newspaper article that you found, or someone of your staff found, the landlord, as I take it, must have received some pressure from the town community. He is a resident of town, because he sent me an email today saying, I will extend that additional year to you guys, and I'll give you a couple more months on the back end.
Oh.
And that just happened this morning. I saw the email from him.
Oh. Power of the public.
Yes, and I think the community itself. Nothing negative on him, but he did realize that he was causing a lot of stress for the members, and he even called us the little diamond in the rough town of Wakanda. So.
Well, then in a way, you do have a little bit of a silver lining.
Yes, and that's what our hope was too, is that sooner or later he would rationalize that, that type of basement, with what we pay at rent. When we were talking to a couple of real estate guys, they said, "My Lord, you guys have been there for 45 years. You've been paying rent. You're low maintenance," and we are. In fact, we're more of a help to them, because being in the basement, we've been able to advise them at times when things go wrong with the plumbing or something like that nature, well before anyone else would notice in the building. So, but we're hopeful, and but we're still going to look, because this is, you get tired of every 2-3 years facing this issue of, are we going to be there? We'd like to find a place that we could get it maybe at 5.
And maybe get some more permanence. Yes,
that's it exactly. It's traumatic. Like I've been associated with the club except for a 10-year sabbatical in between since 1974. So.
Whereabouts in Wakanda are you located, sir?
We are located downtown Wakanda, on what is called Main Street.
Right.
And we are in the basement of a building that has called the Honey Hill Coffee Shop. And we're in the basement of that building. It's an old white wooden building out of the turn of the previous century.
You're near the post office out there then, right?
No, the post office now is in a newer complex out right along Highway 12. We're in the old downtown section of Wakanda.
Okay.
By Bangs Lake, where the road will go in for the Bangs Lake.
I know exactly where you're at out there.
Yep.
Does that coffee shop serve good coffee?
She does a nice job. In fact, we get some extra treats on Friday nights at our normal gathering night. she has any leftover pastries, she's always stopping off and dropping them off with us. So, and she helps us by sending people downstairs, and we help her by sending people upstairs. So,
so like Friday nights is when your normal meeting night is to do work and.
Yeah, it's more operational on Friday. We invite the public down between 7 and 9 o'clock on Friday nights. They're welcome to come on down. And we do run 2 major open houses a year. Our next one coming up is March 18th and 19th. And that's a Saturday, Sunday, and that'll run from 11 to 4.
Ah, okay. We'll make sure we get that out. Now and next month.
Yeah, that'd be great. And we have a website, and pretty attractive website with some links to video clips of the layout.
What's your website address?
It's www.lcmrr.org.
All right.
We will include a link to that on our Facebook page.
And can we ask you what scale you're in?
We're HO scale.
And what era? Do you just run everything, or do you have a specific date range for your
Yeah,
models?
the scenery structures, yards, and all buildings are built for a steam to diesel transition period. And when we do run an operation night, you do end up operating under that period structure. But members, if they have a preference for a modern train, they're welcome to bring it down on the layout and run it. The only thing we're not going to do is expand our tunnels to allow a triple auto rack go through. Not like the Chicago Northwestern did on the Omaha line outside of Elroy, Wisconsin. So.
Well, it sounds like at least you got a good head on things, and everybody's I know hoping for the goal line to stay where you're at. But hopefully your search will actually turn up something that'll be even better for you.
That's what we're hoping. That's what we're hoping. Some guys like to build new, and that's one of the drawbacks, I think, for some people that come down and see it. We're a what I'll call a mature club. It's well scenic, and sure, certain guys have a nice knack of just adding that little fine extra detail that you go, wow.
Mm-hmm.
But if a guy likes to build with lumber and drills and screws and go from scratch, unfortunately our club doesn't offer that. But if you're good with electronics, we've got a lot of stuff going on and pushing the envelope a little bit on what you can do a little bit. A couple guys there are pretty good at it.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun.
It is.
Have you like I say, we check out our Facebook page. As sure we will check yours out.
Sure thing.
And sign up.
All right.
And spread the word about our little program, and you can go to WindyCityHometown.com. You'll be able to hear tonight's broadcast.
All righty. Well, thanks a lot.
What,
Dave.
in about 4 days, 5 days?
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for your call and your information. We'll make sure we get it out to more people.
All righty. Thank you much, Dave. And John, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Huh? My turn?
Yep.
Your turn.
My turn. Hey. Here's from the Erie, Pennsylvania newspaper. It's about GE Transportation eliminating 250 positions at its plant in Fort Worth, Texas. Now, Erie, PA is the home of GE Transportation, where they build locomotives. When they built this new plant in 2012, they laid off quite a few people in Erie, PA. Well, now it seems that the downturn in the rail industry, which is, people may or may not know, railroading is a cyclical industry. It prospers and then it starves. Currently, there's a drop in coal traffic and a few other things, and the railroads have put a lot of locomotives, tied them up. They're not using them, so that's affected the new locomotive market, and the company hasn't booked a new order for a North American locomotive since 2014, and the volume is expected to fall as the plant works through its current backlog of orders. So it seems that freight rail volume has dropped 4.5% year over year. and more than 15% of the nation's freight locomotives remain parked. As a result, production volume at the GE Manufacturing Solutions facility requires only 50% of the site's available capacity. So they laid off 250 employees, and they put the rest of the 70 jobs on a shortened work week by 8 hours. And they're finishing up their current backlog of orders, and after that, who knows what's going to happen. So that's the current status of GE. We're talking earlier, before we went on the air, about Mr. Trump being elected president. I want to say a little bit about the ramifications of letting the Republicans have control of the government. California's House Republicans have asked the Trump administration to block a pending federal grant that will ultimately support the state's high-speed rail project until an audit of the project's finances are completed. They also requested that the Trump administration hold off approving $647 million for the Caltrain system to go electric, something that could kill the redo of the line that carries more than 60,000 riders a day between South Bay and San Francisco. One of our members recently sent me an email from the Heritage Foundation, and the Heritage Foundation is no fan of either mass transit or Amtrak. Let's see, in their blueprint for balance federal budget of 2017, they asked that the money that's set aside for mass transit be cut completely, because mass transit only serves a quote-unquote small market of people. Of course, that's all the cities in the country. Not all of them, but quite a few of the large cities. Let me see if I can find it on my notes here. Well, they do say we should spend more money on defense.
Well, that's it. We'll get them to put missiles in L cars.
Yeah.
No, that's what the Atlanta Falcons needed. More money on their defense.
I think we're getting off track, gentlemen.
Well, anyways.
Oh no.
I just, I'm probably the libtard of the group here, but the Republicans, and especially the groups like the Heritage Foundation, which is funded in part by the Koch brothers, they do not believe in passenger rail, and they do not believe in mass transit for cities. So go figure it out. You get what you pay for.
Yeah, well, see, that's just it. Remember, you can't really say anything about Trump because he hasn't really been given a chance. And the trouble is, he's already pissed off Republicans. So,
well, he wanted what was it, billions of dollars for billions of dollars for improving rails, highways, bridges, etc. But the fact is, he's got to get it by the Republican Congress and Senate. And these people are not fans of spending money. They don't want to spend money on anything. Here we go. Trump's big infrastructure plan depends on revenue, says Lipinski, Representative Dan Lipinski. $1 trillion investment in the nation's infrastructure. But how helpful the plan will be depends on whether Trump backs it up with real revenues and not just tax cuts, according to Congressman Lipinski. And, okay, I'll get off my soapbox now. And
Thank you.
Dog nut.
The man's been in office for less than 14 days. Let's give him a little
I said-
time to do something before we
said-
hang him from a tree and burn his feet.
I said nothing about Mr. Trump. I only mentioned that he wants to spend
what he wants.
what he wants.
And
And what I mentioned was the fact that in this last election, we handed the keys to the Republicans. They now control the Senate, and they now control the House.
Mm-hmm.
And they and the people that put the money behind them are not interested in railroads. Well, I shouldn't say railroads per se, because I'm sure. Well, let's go further. If you start putting up trade tariffs in this country, the railroads are going to suffer. They're going to suffer tremendously because they depend on foreign trade, incoming and outgoing trade. And if we put up barriers to that, we're not going to be shipping shit overseas, and they're not going to be sending it to us. So figure it out.
And on that note, it is time for station identification. John, take it away.
And you are listening to Chicago Junction on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norge and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Monday, February the 13th, the year 2017. And now, back to Chicago Junction and our panel. Brian?
Oh, now that we're back on a happy note again.
Well, no one stabbed me yet, so I guess.
Or cut
Okay.
your tongue out.
Well, let's take a look at Iowa Pacific. They've been in the news lately.
A lot.
Yes. Let's see. Well, the Hoosier Express. Now, you got to listen to their story a little bit too, because yes, they are running the train. They supplying the equipment is what they're doing, but Amtrak's running the train. And they're keeping a lot more of the money than what's being given, and I don't think that Iowa Pacific is getting their fair share, but we don't know. We don't know what the full story is. But yes, you're right, the Amtrak is going to start running it with their equipment, but they have been running the train. And they were talking about trying to get the track fixed and everything. But, the thing is, with Amtrak, they're always trying to get the tracks fixed. But it's the host railroad.
Which is?
Like CSX.
Okay.
And we know CSX is a real big fan of passenger trains.
Side note on CSX, they just had a management shakeup. They're looking like they're paving the way to bring Harrison in.
Oh, God. All right. But what's happening, though, they did a close down of the Texas State Railroad in December. And they were laying off people, and all of a sudden, they're saying they fired everybody. But the same thing's happens, wondering what's going on, especially with New York, the Saratoga and North Creek. They decided to cancel the snow trains again for this year. It puts it 2 years in a row. So all the people in New York's real good for this. All the people saying the trains aren't worth anything, so let's tear up all the tracks, and we're going to make bike trails out of them and snowmobile trails, like they're doing it at Lake Placid. It looks like they're losing on that one. But they also want to tear up now the using the rails of the Saratoga and North Creek.
Because everybody knows they're going to ride their bicycles in the winter.
Oh, then they said, well, it's for their ATVs and
they'll park them at the restaurant to go in to eat.
And they'll put their snowshoes on and walk in the knee-deep snow.
And if you go where the Huskies go,
don't eat the yellow snow.
That's what Snoopy says.
All right.
I have a couple of things in and around Chicago. I happen to be out in the very south end of the Hegwich neighborhood, and at 137th and O, I looked into what used to be the old Ascon scrapyard, and there is a center cab engine sitting in there. It's a small one, fire engine red with the number 31 painted on the sides of the cab. Cute little thing.
Sounds like a 44-tonner.
Yep. No other markings other than the number 31. So my guess is they're using it to move the rail cars around until their carcasses and what's left of the bed gets lifted off the trucks. Because nothing comes out of that yard.
By rail, you're saying?
On its own trucks, yes. And I was at 37th Place in Morgan the other day, and there was a flagman stopping all the traffic. Next thing I saw was a line of about 9 tank cars being pushed into the building on the east side of the street, and The power behind it was a little trackmobile, beautiful shade of pumpkin orange with shuttle wagon painted on the side of it. So there are cute little engines still around to be seen.
Critters.
Critters.
Yep.
That's what they're called, critters.
Yep. And I brought something in for all of us to look at and hopefully not drool on.
Ah.
Lionel brought out a Polar Express Christmas Bells Transport Mint Car this Christmas. It has a snow white roof. The body itself is a deep navy blue. Two big windows on each side, typical of a mint car. They're stenciled over with snowflakes. The one says, "The bells of Christmas ring," and the other one says, "For all those who truly believe." Uncle Brian, we know you still truly believe. It's mounted over a set of trucks with silver side panels, and they're actually spring-loaded trucks. It's not in the paint scheme for the Polar Express passenger set, but it would not look out of place riding right behind the tender. The only problem that I have is that I wish they had done the stack of Christmas bells in a brass or gold tone instead of silver, because the ones in the book and in the movie are a bright brass or bright gold finish. It's a cute little car.
Yeah.
Those are supposed to be bells in there?
Yeah, they're not
Ball bearings.
they're not shot for a 12-pound cannon. Except in Dave's case, and he's going to get one in his Christmas stocking, and when he reaches for it, he's going to drop it right on his toes.
Yeah, I got something in the world of music. In October, album was released by a British folk singer named Billy Bragg and an American folk singer named Joe Henry. And what he does is he's been writing some books on some of the different styles of music in England. And then when he got to train songs, he found out America had a plethora of train songs, more than anybody else. So what he decided to do, he decided to do some recordings of American train songs with his buddy Joe. And they decided to do it a unique way. They bought themselves a ticket on the Texas Eagle, taking it from Chicago through San Antonio all the way to Los Angeles. And what they did at certain station stops along the way where they knew it was a little extended, they jump out with their instruments and recording equipment and record songs. They started off in Chicago Union Station where they recorded 3 songs. Got on the train, and it has a little booklet with it, and it tells you what stations that they did it in. Kansas City Union Station, down in San Antonio, L.A., and they finished it up, and then they released it. It's got one song on there that really isn't a train song, but I guess they liked Gordon Lightfoot, Early Morning Rain. And one song that I really didn't expect to be on here, they got Gentle on My Mind. But technically, it's a hobo song. But it's quite nice.
Union Station on the cover.
Union Station's on the cover. Let's look in your folk music section, or you can order it through, through your favorite music store.
The title of it again, Brian?
Shine a Light.
And Billy Bragg is a socialist.
Yes, and actually he's here in town. Last week he's doing a show at the Center for Folk Music Art.
The one up on Lincoln Avenue.
Yeah.
Old Town School of Folk Music.
The Old Town School of Folk Music.
They're socialists too.
Well, everybody was a socialist. Woody Guthrie, all them guys, Pete Seeger, and they had some really fantastic songs. But yeah, it's nice to see the trains. There are a lot of old favorites on there. I can just imagine them having all their equipment at the door and jumping out on the platform and sit up and start singing. And you could see it. You can hear the noise with some of the background. In fact, in one of the Chicago songs, you can hear the calling out.
The announcement. Cucamonga.
Ah, yes, Jack Benny.
Metra is going to modernize. Metra is going to modernize and expand the 49th Street car shop. Anybody familiar with the old Rock Island Rocket House area? There's a car shop there. Metra has budgeted $20 million to begin upgrading and expanding their 49th Street car shop in order to enable additional shift work for rail car rehabilitation. Metra's 5-year core program includes $120 million for support facilities and equipment. The building was originally built in 1947 by the Rock Island Railroad.
When they rebuilt it a few years ago, they took the Rock Island Herald off the west wall and bricked it up. I understand that Herald is now up at Union.
Yeah, I think George is there too.
We were talking about, I think there was a mention of the CREATE. Did you mention that? Yeah, CREATE submitted a federal fast lane grant application for the 75th Street Corridor Improvement Project, and it was $160 million in federal support to leverage public and private funding. Unfortunately, I believe that was turned down. I don't think it was included in the appropriations for 2017.
Well, I know that you all asked questions about the Big Boy last time. Big Boy is down to bare bones. Even the boiler's been removed, so they could check over everything. And they're going to start putting it together. They figured out the things that need to be fabricated, and they're working on that. Getting the parts, and then they're slowly going through and getting ultrasounds as needed. They're checking all the wheels before they start putting it back together on the frame.
Sounds good. You'll let us know as soon as they pick a route and when tickets are going to be available, or are you going to wait until after you get your tickets to tell us?
Would I do that?
Never, Chief.
We'll see.
Here's something near and dear to certain people at this table's heart. Gun thefts continue at Chicago rail yards. Chicago Alderman Pat McDowell was so concerned about recent rail yard gun heists that she wanted to hold a public hearing to question railway representatives. But she says that the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives and the rail giant Norfolk Southern strongly encouraged her not to go public for fear that she would expose serious security deficiencies. Dowell held off the public hearing. Now it's happened again. In the latest incident, 6 semi-automatic rifles and 27 handguns were reported stolen from a rail car near 77th and Avalon. There is no city like Chicago where every major railroad comes together, said Joseph Schwederman, a transportation expert and DePaul University professor. You have dozens of interfaces, that means small yards spread around town that create some of these vulnerabilities. In May 2014, 13 Smith & Wesson rifles were stolen from a freight car near 63rd and State. And I understand part of the problem is these cars are just basically put in general freight, and there is no special handling. There's no special notices to any kind of police. I don't know if the railroad police even know what's in these boxcars. And the theft is they consider it that it's random. It's not a concerted effort. People don't know what's being put in these cars. They just knock a few boxcars over and they luck out. You know, it might be toilet paper, it might be guns. Who knows?
Well, many years ago, there was a TV show called Masterminds that talked about people who run criminal enterprises. and there was a group out in New York called the Conrail Boys. One gang member was shot in the legs or something. He had to stay home, so he started listening to the railroad broadcasts, and he figured out what trains by their symbols was general merchandise, and their guys would intercept the train while it's moving, pop the door open, and toss the merchandise out. And this went on for like 6 years before they figured out what was going on.
Sure. If somebody was an insider and worked in, as a clerk in the freight department, they'd certainly know what the manifests were for the freight.
So it's not that hard for them to figure, like you said, random shot. Train stops, they come up the embankment, pop the door open, and grab a couple of boxes.
Or it's sitting in the yard not going anywhere,
Yeah.
which happens quite a bit in Chicago.
Luck of the draw, and they get guns this time. Next time they get the toilet paper. Both useful.
And then finally they'll get the TV sets.
Oh, no, they go by container. Those are locked.
The mayor held a press conference today,
Oh, our mayor.
and again fronted the idea of a downtown to O'Hare express train, and quoted the fact that there are several world-class cities that offer the service, and there is no reason why Chicago can't. He was not well received by the newscasters, who pointed out that an awful lot of what the mayor was talking about and taking credit for had actually been proposed or started by his predecessor. So maybe the media is getting a little worn around the edges with our honorable mayor.
Mere tiny dancer.
Yeah, and it's not new news that Metra is painting its older engines into the new paint scheme, but I actually had the opportunity to see one yesterday, and it's a really good-looking paint job.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it came in with the MP36s, and they adapted it well to the square boxes of the F40s and such. And yeah, it is, and they're repainting each locomotive as it gets rebuilt into that scheme.
Yeah, it was a 100 series. I think it was 184 I saw. I'm not absolutely certain. It went by sort of quick.
Yeah, usually when the trains are moving, they go fast.
Well, no, I mean, I was sitting on Federal, around 46th Street, and this one was actually moving. It wasn't dragging.
And I guess we have a call-in guest again, do we not, sir?
Hi. Hi, how are you? My grandpa wanted me to call you.
He really did he?
Yeah, I haven't talked to him lately, though.
Well, welcome, Jack.
How are things going, guys?
We're going great. It was all hit today.
Yeah? How many we got present?
We've got 5 of us here,
Okay.
6,
not including our fearless engineer.
6 if we take constructive credit for you.
You got yourself. And who else?
Schmolin didn't make it. He promised he was going to be here. And he
Musket your roll call.
No, but we do have Ron here. Dave.
Yeah.
We got our librarian
And Doug.
Hello,
and Doug.
Doug.
We got Dave.
Cubby.
Very good.
Jimmy.
Kevin there?
Oh, yeah.
George.
Oh yeah,
Kevin?
Kevin's here.
Yeah.
Brian's here too.
We're here, Monsignor.
Is Dave there?
Dave's
Dave's
not
here.
here.
Okay.
Thank you for that lead-in. Thank you.
Isn't there, isn't there?
Is there a problem?
I'll be turn on my phone vision. I can see him there. I wish I was down there with you guys. Going to see the rheumatologist tomorrow. And they're trying to schedule a surgery for my hip, so. Wish they'd done it before the winter started. That way I could recuperate over the winter and be ready by the time the robins come back, So.
Well, we're waiting for you. I figure Easter will be a good time. Come back from the dead.
I'll be back as soon as I can.
Roll away the stone. He's here.
Yeah.
You just got to get you in the shop and get those big jacks up underneath you and get some new trucks under you.
Sound like you're having a good show, though.
Oh, we are.
Well, let me let you get back to it.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in, Jack.
Okay, take care.
Mhm.
Everybody.
Bye.
I guess one big thing for me is in the east, a lot of stuff's been going. The Reading Blue Mountain and Northern was a short line that started as the Blue Mountain and Reading and ended up with a little branch line, an old Pensy branch out of Temple, Pennsylvania, which is just outside of Reading, on its way up to Hamburg. And Hamburg is now the site of the Reading Historical and Technical Society, and where they have their museum. And what they're noted for is they have the largest collection of a single railroad's equipment. They got like 79 pieces.
Wow.
Passenger cars, RDCs, electrics, the electrical MU cars, EMUs, diesels. They have Alcos, a couple of Alcos, RS3s, and C425s. It has the first production GP 30. They've got a GE U30C. Complete wreck train. A lot of good stuff. But the Reading and Northern has become a very big regional in that area. It's still getting more traffic. The merchandise is going up. And now they're pretty big into the tourists, running tourist trains, and they're running from Reading to Jim Thorpe on old Reading track, Jersey Central trackage, and Lehigh Valley trackage. And they're pulling with steam. They've got a nice little Pacific that they call 4 1/4, 425. They got it painted in a blue paint scheme that they had on a couple steam locomotives in the 20s and 30s. Reading did. And in fact, when they got a hold of the Canadian Pacific 460 that was owned by George Hart, who used to run several steam trains. And they've got that cosmetically restored, looking good, and it's painted blue. In the 21, one of the Reading T1s, 2102, is being rebuilt at this time. And they decided instead of just going onto the property and loading up the people, they went closer to downtown Reading, to the old fairgrounds, and they put a new siding in off their track, and they're building a new outer station, as they're calling it. And they're going to start running excursions in May, going up to Jim Thorpe, using RDCs.
How long a trip? Trackage-wise?
Well, about 60 miles.
Wow.
And they're going through the mountains, so you're going to be on the old, you'll see some of the old coal collieries that they had for the anthracite mining. And every now and then they'll run a train right up to Scranton. Did a few other roads. But yeah, they're building it, and you go to their website. They started digging in September. September, October, they started digging, putting in and they're making progress, and they're going to be ready in March to start selling tickets.
You said they occasionally run one up to Scranton. Can they are they planning on tying in the trip to Steamtown?
That's in Scranton.
Yeah.
When they go up to Scranton, they go to Steamtown.
Well, the reason I'm asking is I've been to Steamtown, but I don't know the layout of the rail in Pennsylvania. I was just wondering if it was a possibility.
Well, they got to backtrack on one track to get there, but yeah, and they'll end up on the Wilkes-Barre line, and then they'll get on the Delaware-Lackawanna line.
Because when I was out at Scranton, they did run a special from Steamtown to an old arsenal out there. I want to say it was Picatinny, but I'm not
Yeah.
real certain.
Picaton is up there when you're going up into the Poconos.
And
And their arsenal's up there, and then they actually they go actually all the way to the Gap. They go to Easton, or not Easton, but to the Delaware River, to the Gap area,
okay.
and they go to where the track has been cut off. You have this beautiful double-track bridge sitting in the middle of the Delaware River, with tracks cut on the Pennsylvania side and on the New Jersey side. They did it so this way they didn't have to pay taxes. Conrail did it. And they've been trying since the 90s to get it, and New Jersey doesn't want to do it. They want to take up and have, that way they could have passenger service out of New York and go right to the Poconos, the Scranton area. And New Jersey has been doing everything to try and stop it.
So who owns the bus company that's lobbying against the rail?
I don't know. You know, it could be from the Tipville Thunderbolt. I don't know. But yeah, the trackage is basically used by New Jersey Transit, and the people don't want the track to go across the river because they were talking about putting trash trains through. And some of the this is since from some of the earlier town hall meetings, and they were talking about they don't want those trash trains to come through at 75 miles an hour. Oh yeah, you know.
Now you're talking trash.
That they see that, and I'm going, and they're the NIMBYs. NIMBYs have some of the funniest things to say. They really do.
Well, like why do they hit the cars? Why don't they steer out of the way?
They just don't make them tight radiuses anymore.
I have a question for you. What's going on with the locomotive that used to be in Hammond?
Ooh, I was going to talk about that.
Oh, we're talking about the 625?
Yeah, I believe so. The one that
Yeah,
had the
old
reefer and the caboose next to it.
And the Milwaukee Road reefer car.
Yeah.
Right. They supposedly went to the Fort Wayne Railroad Historical Society. That was all donated.
They found a home for it, and eventually they're going to restore it cosmetically.
Right.
But they're going to do a real check of the boiler to see if they can get it running. But it's all part of the downtown display that they're planning.
Yeah, it says
with the roundhouse.
Expected to eventually be displayed at Headquarters Junction in Fort Wayne and will be named City of Hammond. The Historical Society will also take the Milwaukee refrigerator car and the South Shore caboose that are attached to the locomotive. If you've got a spare station bench sitting around your house, the Chillicothe Historical Society's Depot Museum is looking for one. The original waiting room bench was removed a year ago and cannot be located. They are looking for an authentic single-row depot waiting room bench seat for their museum. How about that?
Real quick before we run out of time, the 3rd of June, Mr. Bryan and myself will be out at the Chicagoland Lionel Railroad Club supporting the Boy Scouts working on the Railroading Merit Badge. There's room for 80 Scouts that day. It's a one-day event. The Scouts do have the opportunity to complete the Railroading Merit Badge. And go to clrctrains.com, and there should be some information on the website.
You're getting as bad as these people doing advertising for movies on TV. Yes, go see this movie. It'll be out in July.
Well,
and we're seeing it on TV now.
As of yesterday, 25% of the available slots for that Railroading Merit Badge Clinic have already been spoken for.
That's all right. But, we'll be telling them again in May.
By May, they'll be gone.
That's okay. Fine by me.
You're one of our main speakers.
We don't brag about that.
You should. It's an honorable thing that you do.
Well, Operation Lifesaver is something that I truly believe in, and maybe that's what makes me a good speaker about it. I don't know. But it's something that Dave and I definitely like to get the word out on. You wonder why I've got white hair.
You've explained that.
You got it. Well, the time on the wall says it's time we're pulling in the station.
Where's your script? Where's your script?
It's in the caboose.
In the absence of our illustrious leader,
Okay.
happy rails to you.
Our express comes into the station. We want to thank you for joining us on our journey through the wonderful world of trains. Chicago Junction is a production of the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and can be listened to on the web at www.windycityhometown.com, where you can listen to tonight's broadcast and all our past episodes, and also sample some of the other fine programs that are being offered. This is your announcer, Brian Ballou. Until next month, when we journey to Chicago Junction.
You have been listening to Chicago Junction on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Monday, February the 13th, the year 2017. Chicago Junction was produced by Jack Ryan, directed by John DeVita, and our special thanks to radio station manager Kevin Zeflik of WRHS FM Norwich and the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, Mr. John Chikanda. This broadcast was pre-recorded on Thursday, February the 9th, the year 2017. Until next time, friends, thanks for listening, be safe, and have a good time. And this is Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM, Norwich, Illinois.